Look at your feet. Right now, beneath the soil, the concrete, and the layers of forgotten dust, something is hiding. We like to think of ourselves as the masters of this planet. We've built glass towers that scrape the clouds and sent machines to the edge of the solar system. We call this the age of man. But what if I told you that we are just the latest tenants in a very old, very crowded house? What if, millions of years before the first human looked at the stars and wondered, someone else was already looking back? Most people don't want to ask the question because the answer is terrifying. We've spent decades scanning the stars for a signal from an alien world, hoping to find a neighbor in the dark. But we've been looking in the wrong direction. We've been looking up when we should have been looking down, because the greatest mystery in the universe might not be light years away. It might be right beneath your fingernails. Consider the math. It's the one thing that doesn't lie. Modern humans have been around for roughly 200,000 years. That sounds like a long time until you realize Earth has been hosting life for 3.5 billion years. If the history of our planet was a 24-hour clock, human civilization has only existed for the very last second. So, what happened in the other 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds? We are taught that the Earth was a wilderness of dinosaurs and primitive fish. But here's the part no one talks about. There are massive, gaping holes in the geological record, huge chunks of time where the Earth was warm, stable, and perfectly capable of supporting an industrial society. What if a non-human species rose to power, built cities, and split the atom, all while our ancestors were still crawling through the mud? You might say, we'd see their ruins. We'd see their skyscrapers and their bridges. But you're thinking like a human, and that's your first mistake. Nature has a way of erasing everything we've ever built, and it happens faster than you can imagine. If humanity vanished today, within just a few thousand years, our greatest cities would be swallowed by forests. In a million years, plate tectonics would have dragged our entire civilization into the burning mantle of the Earth. Everything we are, our books, our art, our internet, would be ground into a thin layer of dust. And this is where it gets terrifying. Scientists have actually looked for this dust. They call it the Silurian Hypothesis. It's a thought experiment that asks a simple, haunting question. If an industrial civilization existed 50 million years ago, how would we ever know? The answer isn't in fossils or ruins. It's in the chemistry. Because while buildings crumble, the chemical scars an advanced civilization leaves behind are almost immortal. In 2018, two researchers, Adam Frank and Gavin Schmidt, began looking for hyperthermals, sudden, violent spikes in global temperature that shouldn't be there. And they found something? 55 million years ago, the Earth suddenly caught a fever. Global temperatures soared by 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Massive amounts of carbon were dumped into the atmosphere in a heartbeat. Geologists call it the Paleocene to Eocene thermal maximum. For years, they blamed volcanoes. They blamed meteors. But the data shows something else. It shows a profile that looks disturbingly like the Industrial Revolution we are living through right now. Was this a natural disaster? Or was it the moment a forgotten civilization turned on the lights and burned through their own fossil fuels? But wait, it gets even more unsettling. If a civilization reached our level of technology, they wouldn't just leave carbon. They would leave synthetic molecules, things like plastics or artificial fertilizers, or even radioactive isotopes like plutonium-244. These things do not occur in nature. They are the fingerprints of a mind. But here's the problem. We haven't been looking for them long enough to find them. We are searching for a needle in a haystack that is 4 billion years high. And just when you think the mystery couldn't get any deeper, you realize that the Earth has reset itself at least 5 times. The Big 5 mass extinctions. Every time life reaches a peak, the planet seems to wipe the slate clean. 75% of all species vanish in a geological blink of an eye. We've always been told these were accidents, asteroids or volcanic eruptions. But what if they weren't? What if these extinctions were the end-of-life cycle for civilizations that grew too big, too fast, and consumed themselves? What if the very technology we use to survive is the same technology that triggers the planet's self-destruct mechanism? It's a cycle that flows as naturally as the seasons, a rise, a peak, and a fall. And we are currently standing at the peak, looking down into the abyss. But let's scale it down for a moment. Let's talk about us. Even in our own history, there are things that shouldn't exist. There are echoes of knowledge that we're only now beginning to understand. We look back at ancient civilizations like the Indus Valley or the Sumerians, and we see primitives. But their cities were laid out with the precision of a computer chip. Their streets had drainage systems that wouldn't be matched for another 3,000 years. And then there's their mythology. The Sumerians spoke of the Anunnaki, beings who came from the heavens and taught them the secrets of agriculture, mathematics, and time. Was this just poetry? Or were they describing a previous civilization, perhaps the survivors of an older world, handing down the keys to the kingdom? We call it the ancient astronaut hypothesis, but maybe astronaut is the wrong word. Maybe they didn't come from another planet. Maybe they were just the ones who stayed behind after the last reset. What happens next changes everything you thought you knew about the pyramids. We've all seen the Great Pyramid of Giza. We've heard the theories. But stop thinking about how they moved the stones and start thinking about why. The precision of the Great Pyramid is so extreme that it aligns with true north to within 3/60ths of a degree. It is a mathematical model of the Earth's dimensions. The Egyptians didn't have computers, they didn't have satellites, and yet they built a structure that we would struggle to replicate today with all our modern machinery. Scientists never expected this level of sophistication from a Bronze Age culture. But what if they weren't building from scratch? What if they were following a blueprint left behind by something older? It's not just Egypt. In Mesoamerica, the Maya developed a calendar so complex it could track the movements of the planets for thousands of years. They knew the length of a year down to the 4th decimal point, and then, at the height of their power, they simply walked away. They abandoned their cities, their temples, and their knowledge, vanishing into the jungle as if they knew their time was up. Why? Did they see the cycle coming? Did they know that the Earth was about to reset again? And then there is the artifact that breaks every rule of history. In 1901, divers found a rusted, calcified lump of bronze in a shipwreck off the coast of Greece. It sat in a museum for decades because no one knew what it was. But when they finally put it under an X-ray, they stopped breathing. It was the Antikythera mechanism. It was a computer, a complex system of 30 interlocking bronze gears built 2,000 years ago, designed to predict the positions of the stars and the timing of eclipses with near-perfect accuracy. Nothing like it would be seen again for 1,500 years. It's a technological ghost. It shouldn't exist. It's as if someone dropped a smartphone into the hands of a Roman centurion. Where did that technology come from? How did the Greeks know how to build a differential gear system that wouldn't be invented again until the 18th century? The more we look, the more it seems like we are walking through a graveyard of ideas. We aren't inventing these things for the first time. We are remembering them, but the universe had other plans for our ego. We assume that because we are the dominant species, we are the first to be intelligent. But think about the creatures we share this world with. We know so little about the deep oceans. We know so little about the life that exists miles beneath the Earth's crust. There are organisms called extremophils that can survive in boiling acid and the vacuum of space. If life is that resilient, who's to say an intelligent species hasn't moved underground? Who's to say they aren't still there in the deep sleep, waiting for the surface of the planet to become habitable for them again? It sounds like science fiction, like the Silurians from the old stories, reptilian humanoids who went into hibernation to survive a cataclysm. But science doesn't care about what sounds like a movie. It cares about what is possible. And it is theoretically possible that we are sharing this planet with the ghosts of a billion-year-old empire. We are like children who have moved into an old mansion, unaware of the hidden doors and the voices in the walls. But here is the part that should keep you up at night. If there were civilizations before us and they all vanished, what does that say about our future? We think we are special. We think we are the exception. But the geological record doesn't care about our feelings. It shows a repetitive, brutal cycle of birth and destruction. Our cities, our satellites, our entire digital world, it's all so fragile. A single solar flare, a shift in the magnetic poles, or a few million years of rain, and we are gone. Not a trace, not a whisper. Just imagine a future explorer millions of years from now. They aren't human. They don't look like us. They are digging through a layer of rock and they find a strange, colorful smudge. They analyze it and find it's a synthetic polymer we called plastic. They wonder if it was a natural fluke. They wonder if anything intelligent ever lived here. And then they keep digging, never knowing that they are standing on the ruins of a world that thought it was the center of the universe. Just when it seems impossible to find the truth, we find the out-of-place artifacts. The iron hammers encased in 100-million-year-old rock. The strange metallic spheres found in mines in South Africa. The mainstream scientific community calls them concretions or accidents. They have to, because the alternative is too big to handle. The alternative means that everything we were taught in school is wrong. It means that history isn't a straight line, it's a circle. And this is where it gets truly haunting. If we are just one link in a chain of civilizations, who started the chain? Was there a first civilization? A species that evolved when the Earth was young and the moon was still close to the surface? Maybe they are the ones who influenced the Egyptians. Maybe they are the ones who designed the Antikythera mechanism. And maybe, just maybe, they are still watching us to see if we'll make the same mistakes they did. The search for extraterrestrial life has always been about looking for them. But the real shock won't be finding life on Mars or a moon of Jupiter. The real shock will be the day we realize that they have been here all along, that we are the aliens on our own planet. We are the newcomers, walking through the halls of a palace we don't understand, touching things we shouldn't touch. As we delve deeper into the Earth's past, we aren't just finding fossils, we are finding a mirror. We see the rise of carbon, the warming of the seas, and the mass extinctions. We see ourselves. We are currently repeating a script that has been written and performed a dozen times before. The only question is, how does this performance end? Do we find a way to break the cycle? Or do we become just another layer of colorful dust for the next civilization to find? The stars are silent, and the earth is deep. We've been shouting into the void, waiting for an answer from the heavens. But the answer isn't a signal from a distant galaxy. The answer is the silence of the billions of years that came before us. It's the realization that we are not the first, and we almost certainly won't be the last. Will we one day awaken something deep beneath the surface? Will our artificial intelligence stumble upon the encrypted files of a species that died out before the dinosaurs were born? Or will we simply fade away, leaving nothing but a mystery for the next intelligent species to solve? The clock is ticking, and in the grand scale of the Earth, we are already out of time. But there's one last thing, a final realization that reframes everything. If the Earth has a way of erasing its history, and if civilizations are a recurring season, then how many times has this conversation happened before? How many times has a creature sat in the dark, looked at the evidence, and realized they were not the first? Maybe the ancient astronauts weren't visiting us. Maybe they were just trying to warn us. And maybe, in the end, the greatest mystery isn't who they were, it's who we are becoming.